Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Ark Raiders. With the new expedition and the wipe back around again, it's time for the dark reality of all my blueprints are gone and it's time to hard grind them back. Blueprints remain quite common compared to the past, but it is important to know where to find what, maximizing your odds to find what you're actually looking for, especially important to know what's changed since last time, because we do have two major changes to talk about. Let's start with that. So currently across the board, we're going to see a lot of hurricane map condition going on, and here you have increased loot value, but it's the unique first wave caches that you care about here. There are special safe versions of your usual raider caches. Just like regular raider caches, they make a sound to let you know when you're near them, but only when you're very near them. And the problem here is that the sound plays, even if it's unique, quite low compared to the loud sound of the hurricane itself. So the wind can really overlap it, you will struggle to hear it. Here's a clip though, so you know what to listen for. Yeah, pretty tough to hear, but a unique sound like a ticking robot or something. Well, why are these so important for a blueprint video? Because the high value, ultra rare weapon blueprints actually spawn in them. So here you'll find bobcats, tempests, and even vulcanos. And you'll be likely to find other rarer weapons such as the bettina. Normally, you'd need the specific map condition for those blueprints to even be possible to spawn for, say, your Tempest, Bobcat, or Vulcano. But, you know, with Hidden Bunker and Lockgate seemingly at this time not being in the, event pool, they're not exactly possible if you're not using the Hurricane. So they added them to the Hurricane, but in my experience, these drops have been so good from these caches that it's now the best source for them by far anyway. And it's not just those weapon blueprints with the unique events. Plenty of reports of mine blueprints, as well as, say, medical blueprints like one I found here. They don't seem to obey the normal loot pool rules at all. And with the patch 1.18 that dropped literally today as I was making this video, they have nerfed these. Because, as I was saying in this video, you get like 3 to 5 a run, and that's exactly what they said in their patch notes. So they've lowered the drop rate of the rarer blueprints, but they have raised the drop rate for higher tier materials, so they're more valuable to loot. It's just going to take a bit longer to get blueprints unique to this pool, but obviously it's still really good. Fair warning though, the first wave caches spawn near where you might find normal raider caches, but on slightly different spawns. If you look at all the updated interactive maps, they're now using a different filter called, say, hurricane caches, where you can compare the difference between the two, and you'll see they're in different locations. But it's similar rules in general. Run a route, going to every hurricane cache spawn during the hurricane, and follow an interactive map to really help you find them. It's well worth the effort though, especially if you're like me and just reset for Expedition 2. Plus, I've also found blueprints in the usual locations, like a venator blueprint in a raider ammo container, as you might hope to see. But maybe, like other map events we've seen, maybe the numbers are higher. It does feel crazy for me to be finding multiple blueprints a run regularly, that's for sure. Now, separate to that is another change that I want to reference, a relevant nerf to the blueprint spawns. Your event-specific blueprints, Snaphook, Bobcat, Vulcano, they made these rarer spawns compared to last time I covered this topic. They were really common during the event, and you can find the blueprint anywhere on the map, not specifically inside the bunker or, say, behind the locked gate during those events. So I suppose it makes some sense, especially with our current hurricane option, and those aren't even in the game right now, but it is a shame they're tweaking it backwards like that. But with that said, let's now do the familiar rundown of how blueprint spawns work, how to maximize, and where you can find all the types of blueprints in the game. Blueprints can be found pretty much anywhere, but they're all in their own pools. So a classic one is your medical blueprints. Vita shot, Vita spray, the defibrillator. These are going to be found in medical locations and also occasionally in containers that are tied to medical loot, even though it's in a different tag. Blueprints themselves are a rarer spawn, so you might get lucky when you open a container. And based on the container type and the location you're in, that might define what spawns there. But you can control how likely you are to find rare spawns and thereby blueprints by combining some basic rules. Look at any map and you can see these locations in yellow and red. We know at the hydroponic dome complex I can find nature, industrial and security. So I'm going to find containers that match the industrial tag, and we see the loot value is high. For the industrial tag, I would hope to find blaze grenades, explosive mines, jolt mines, because that's the industrial blueprint pool. To make it more likely that I find the blueprints I care about though, you want to have a map condition on that increases the loot value in general. So Cold Snap does that, a Night Raid does that, even the Hurricane currently does that. So to maximize the odds that I get the industrial blueprints that I'm after, I'd go to a high value industrial spawn with a map event that increases loot value in general. What is a blueprint pool? As I said, blueprints are split into different groups. The medical group, as it were, the pool of medical spawns, will be found in medical tag locations and medical style containers. So if you want a Vita shot, a Vita spray or defibrillator blueprint, then you want to go to a high value loot location that's got the medical tag, ideally at night or during a different event to further improve loot potential. This doesn't mean you're going to find them, but it does mean your odds are going to be higher. So you open as many containers as fast as possible under that context to roll the odds as many times as you can with the best odds possible. Now you know that, here's just a quick rundown of the known blueprint pool and their locations. First up, you have the map event ones. Hidden Bunker and Lock Gate currently aren't seemingly in the game, but previously, and in the future when they're back, Hidden Bunker would be where you would potentially find the Vulcano blueprint, where Lock Gate would be where you would potentially find the Bobcat blueprint. The Electromagnetic Storm still exists, and that's where you're going to find the Snap Hook blueprint. Remember, these are rarer than they used to be now after a nerf. The other map event that's universal and kind of interesting is the Night modifier, where you will find Tempest and Wolfpack blueprints. The other unique map pool blueprint you can consider is Stellar Montis exclusive blueprints. So by looting containers anywhere on Stellar Montis, these might spawn. Deadline Mine, the Seeker Grenade, the Trailblazer, the Aphelion, which was moved from just the Matriarch core to also be Stellar Montis, and then finally the Pulse Mine and the Gas Mine. For augments, it's a bit more interesting. You can find them in medical containers, but you can also find them in special security containers, which are also known as the black lockers, the black crates, and box lockers, which can be found all over the place. This was first found on Blue Gate in the Manticore facility, in the security wing of, say, reinforced reception. There's one breachable small room there that has a load of those black lockers, so you get to roll the odds really efficiently in that location. Also up above is a medical room, so you get to roll the odds there too. But there are other armory rooms across the game, such as on Stellar Montis, in the lobby, especially if you have the key for the locked room there. But even in the medical research area, you might find augments in the medical containers, but there's also a little armory there with those types of containers you'd be looking for. Be aware that these containers can also have complex gun parts as a blueprint. That's where I found those if you're targeting that. As a quick reminder, medical in general is the Vita shot, Vita spray, and the defibrillator. So yes, the medical research on Stellar Montis is great. The hospital's another option. There's the pharmacies. For your weapons and weapon parts, you have your weapon parts of light, medium, and heavy. And then you have the anvil, toro, osprey, torrente, venator, and bettina, which are found in raider containers. Those are the raider caches in the ground, your weapon cases, grenade tubes, ammo cases, raider bags. This is a large blueprint pool, so you might have a hard time finding a specific blueprint if you're targeting this pool. But because there's so many reliable sources of them on every map, it's easy to roll the numbers regularly. Just remember the rules, try to open them in high value loot locations during an event that further increases loot value to make it more likely. Attachments. This is a pretty big blueprint pool, found largely from commercial and residential locations. There's the apartment complexes on damn battlegrounds, the massive locker lines in Buried City, the library, or say the grandiose apartments, and all those kind of residential houses on that map. If you go to Spaceport, you got an example like the departure building and the long locker room in there. I've also pulled these from surveyors and also from trial rewards. If you're after the Equalizer and Jupiter, you can get these by looting the core of the Queen, or even easier, doing the Harvester event. These special containers open up at the end, and these spawn the Equalizer and Jupiter in them. If you're after special utility like the Barricade Kit, Remote Raider Flare, and Tagging Grenade, these are found in electrical containers. There's a lot of types for that. The robots you might loot on Stellar Montis, a server rack on any map, could be a generator, a computer, a control panel, and that's not even like a tenth of all the kinds of electrical containers that exist. So you can spam these and find them easy, but they're not important blueprints really. As I said earlier, for industrial containers and the locations, you'll find blaze grenades, explosive mines, and jolt mines. Industrial containers would be, say, tool cabinets, car hoods, green coloured drawers, or lockers just in the right location tag, metal crates, cabinets, and all that kind of thing. As I mentioned as well, RNG drops from trials can also be blueprints. And these can offer quite a variety. You can get the really rare stuff like a bobcat, but commonly you're going to get attachments from this, or maybe even augments, or say raider style weapons. So yes, if you're after blueprints, doing trials is a good idea. There are also some blueprints locked behind quest rewards. While you can find trigger grenade blueprints in different pools, You can get them guaranteed by doing the Sparks Fly quest. You can get the lure grenade blueprint from greasing her palms. The burletta blueprint comes from industrial espionage. And of course, importantly, the hullcracker blueprint and the launch rammer blueprint, that comes from the Major's footlocker. But yeah, there's my updated overview of everything blueprints. If anything new comes out, any big changes, we'll be back to update it once again. And while I'm not exactly happy with them nerfing the drop rates of event-specific ones, hopefully it's just during the hurricane, and when those events come back round, they won't be super rare or something. But yeah, if that was useful, drop a like. Until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.